a lot more intrigue. So I hope the fans have been enjoying what they've seen so far.
And Karen, I suppose for our audience and listeners that have probably seen the first few episodes, dare I say, you're in the thick of it straight away, dare I say. But maybe you can enlighten us about your character, because I believe there's more that meets the eye in terms of it's just not that first sequence. There's a bit of a bit of rivalry and a back. You have to try and unravel the story and unravel the mystery that is Anna Merrick.
That's right. So Anna Merrick, as you said, is the sister of Jacob Merrick, who's played by Christopher Marquette, and he's fabulous in it. So right off the bat, it just starts with such an intense scene with my character, and Alan Ritchson, who plays Reacher, sees me on the train, and he's just going about his day, and he sees my character. Something's a little bit off with her. We don't know what, and so he tries to encounter and tries to make sense of what's going on. All his spidey senses are firing. And so when we meet her, we discover, and he thinks there's a lot that meets the eye to her, because once he meets her and then he thinks something's happening, but it's not. And what happens in the end. I'm not going to say because I don't know if everybody's seen it, but it's quite a bit of a turn of events. It's not exactly what he expects. And that whole encounter actually unravels the entire season and really gets it going. So, and it's also quite a bit of a character turn for him, because I think in all of the other seasons we see the mystery right at the bat, but this one he has to unravel the mystery throughout the season.
Yeah. And is there various sort of flashback sequences in terms of your character throughout the season as well?
There is. They have to uncover exactly what Anna Merrick's situation is, in terms of there's a greater, more intrigue, global and political intrigue that's happening with her behind the scenes. So the whole season goes through this unraveling of Anna Merrick's backstory, and who she really is, and what her entanglement is in this giant web of situation that's happening with the global intrigue that we're seeing here.
And Karen, when you're reading a script for that and you're reading the character diagnosis and you're trying to break it down, are you almost sort of breaking it down to the two parts, maybe the first part and then the second part in terms of how you want to play the character and role? Because obviously the first part takes on its life of its own, but then the second part you almost like envision a different sort of way to portray her.
Well, I think when you get the script and you read, I mean, for the audition, you get this moment in time. And so you don't really know the backstory. But once you get the whole script and you read what actually is happening, you get the backstory of her character. And you really just want to portray her as a whole. The beginning sequence definitely is paramount to the situation, but her as a character, you have to discover where did she come from, why is she there, why is she put in this situation, and we see that unravel throughout the season. But I usually take the character as a whole and put her in the situation of why, where, and how she's come to this point.
Hmm. And obviously, in terms of your character, your sequences, you have that sequence at the start with Alan Ritchson. But in terms of some of those sequences, where in terms of unraveling your past, do we get to see sort of scenarios play out with you and Christopher Marquette, who is your brother, or are there sequences where you cross paths in terms of those sort of stories, or are you very much pitched on the different side of the fence?
I would say probably pitch on the diverse side, just seeing the backstory of her character, what has happened at that point in which we see her at the beginning. So it's kind of going in a backward situation. You see the end sequence, and then you go back and you unravel how we've gotten to this point. And at the end of the season, you'll definitely discover that it's a much bigger story than meets the eye.
Yeah. And tell us, how did this opportunity arrive in your doorstep, Karen?
Um, just to the normal channels. I have an agent, and I got this opportunity to audition for this role. And I have to be honest, I didn't know too much about Reacher at the time. I knew about the character, and obviously there were a couple of big movies that have featured Reacher, and there was a big series of books, but I didn't really know too much about the series itself. And so, and when you get the script, there was the moment in time that you have to audition for. I didn't really know the backstory. You know, they don't give you all that. So you try to envision a situation where it could be truthful in the moment. And that's what I did, and I guess it came across.
And Karen, when you landed the role, did you obviously you have a specific sort of role in this series without going into too much, our audience will discover that as they watch it. But did you do a bit of research in terms of reading some of the Lee Child books in terms of Reacher to give you a bit of understanding of that sort of universe, or did you feel that you would bring your own spin to it because your role is so unique?
Um, at the time of the audition, you don't really know which book it's going to be. So I had no idea where the situation was, what story it was going to be. So that in itself was very specific in the moment of the audition. But then once you booked the role, I discovered exactly who she was, and what book it is. And I think a lot of people who read the series, there's a little bit of nuances. They changed the names a little bit. So I had to kind of like connect the dots. But I did read the specific book on Tomorrow, which it's based on, to kind of get a feel of who she is, what she is, what's her backstory, trying to bring a little bit more life and kind of validate her as a character.
And I suppose, Karen, again, not trying to give too much away, but what was it like in terms of working with makeup and wardrobe? Obviously, you had a good lot in terms of special effects artists, in terms of the first sort of sequence as well. Was that kind of interesting for you in terms of everything that's to make that sort of scene play out the way it did?
Yeah, I was so amazed by the production crew, and everybody that works there was so focused on exactly the vision and what they wanted, and they knew exactly what they intended, and everyone had a role. And it was a big deal. I had to be put into, a bit of makeup with prosthetics to kind of get the action across, and the visuals across. So that was very exciting. And just to be in that sequence at the end there was also really a bit of it was exciting for me because I've never been in that sort of situation.
And had
If
you
you know what I
any
mean.
background using props or weaponry in terms of that, and in terms of how that sort of looked and how that sort of played out with the cameras and sort of screens like that?
I had not actually had any experience in that specific situation before, so there was a lot of making sure everybody, was safe, was supported, and felt comfortable. So, and I definitely felt that during the filming of this scene in particular.
And I imagine Alan is a chill, down-to-earth guy, a sort of gentle giant in his way. Obviously,
Yes.
playing a touching, sort of intimate scene with him, there were an awful lot of emotions and expressions are being played out. When the camera stopped rolling, was it an awful lot of laughs or an awful lot of giggles, or was there a sort of, could you sort of compress that sort of the tension that you had just played on screen?
That scene itself was very emotionally intense. You can almost hear a pin drop almost with the level of intensity in terms of that situation. And when you're doing it, you're so focused and you're so in it. And Alan is so great at being so focused in his character at the time. And we were both really supporting each other. And my role as an actor is to support the other actor in the scene and to really convey just to convey the emotions that are melding between us. And when they did do cut, it was almost a cathartic like release of like, whoa, that was intense. And we did share a few moments between us that was like, whoa, that was that was crazy.
And Karen, obviously being involved in a hit sort of TV series like Reacher, what was your reaction when you saw it played back for the very first time for yourself?
I have not actually seen it yet, so I haven't. Yeah, I haven't watched the show yet. So I'm gonna be excited when I get the chance to sit down and maybe see what how it all played out. But yeah, I mean, you can probably tell me if it came out well, what your reaction was to that.
Yeah. I'd say you mentioned you could drop a pin, a needle in, and you wouldn't hear it hit the floor. You'd hear it hit the floor. That sort of yeah. It certainly came across that way. I know that's for sure. I know it really caught the eye. Dare I say? Uh, Karen, obviously being involved, you mentioned this hit show. It's great publicity as well for yourself. Obviously, you filmed this over a year ago. Has it been a waited anticipation for this date? Has it been playing on your mind for a while to now to know that it's finally out there? And obviously, you hope to feed off a crest of a wave and a bit of momentum after being on such a hit TV series to have Reacher as a credit.
Yeah, once I found out how big Reacher is and how big of a fan base it was, I was quite excited, and it was quite of a long wait for production and post production, and when the day finally comes, you're like, I don't know what it's going to bring, but I am fully excited just as a fan and as a person, just as a person in general. I am a fan of the show because when I watched the show just to get the tone and feel of it, I was hooked, and I watched all three seasons before that because it's that exciting. And I have to say that this show is quite smart, quite funny, very well written for the audience and what they want to convey. And I remember a moment in time when we were filming this scene. Sam Hill, the director, he came out to me and just to let you know, Karen, no pressure, but this is pretty much one of the most important scenes of the season. So, so I was like, okay, game on, let's go.
Okay. And Karen, during shooting and in between takes and obviously filming, did you get to intermingle with the rest of the cast like Sydney Noel, Agnes Moe, Dean Armstrong? Did you get to spend time with the other cast members when you weren't shooting and scenes? Did your paths cross regularly? Because obviously there are different sorts of sequences for you throughout the series as well.
Um, I did interact with Chris. We did have a little bit of interaction in terms of just, personally, we had to share. We were doing some prop photos, and we had to take some pictures together, and that was very special. And he's such a great, nice guy, really funny. Can't wait to see his performance. I'm sure it's great. And Sidel as well. I met her when I did one of the flashback sequences for myself, and we were in the same location. And she was working quite hard. I know she was mentioning she was running a lot. She did a lot of running. So I'm sure she did a great job as well. So everyone in the show is so nice. Everyone's so welcoming and supportive, and everyone has a good time. We have a good time bringing this to life for everyone to see, and we're really proud of what we've accomplished and produced. And I hope the fans enjoy, and I hope they're having a wild ride so far and tuning in next week and every week until we get to see the final episode.
And Karen Kwong-Chip, I'm going to turn it over to you now for the final 30 seconds. You might enlighten all our viewers, all our listeners, why they should tune in. It's out today worldwide, season 4 of Reacher on Prime Video. And when they do, Karen, what's in store for them?
So everybody should tune in because this is one of the most intense, action-packed seasons so far. It really delves into Reacher, his character and emotional vulnerabilities, and it really sets him up for much more intense storylines in the future. And I'm sure nobody will be disappointed by the amount of action and also heartfelt, very heartfelt themes in this season that I think people will be surprised with. So watch it, Prime.